Hey, thanks for dropping by to the Planners on Purpose podcast, created by Naomi Tucker, CMP. Now, this space is for the event planners to encourage and empower you so that you can fully live your life on purpose. So before we dig in, please take a moment to subscribe so you get future shows. Now, here she comes, your host, Naomi.
Hi everyone, this is Naomi. Welcome to another episode of Planners on Purpose. So great to have you with me today. It's been a wonderful day and I'm excited to really unpack what I think is a silent burnout threat. And this occurs in the virtual workplace. And I wanted to share that with you today. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Naomi Tucker. I am a business consultant and burnout prevention coach. And I love to help event professionals. The reason being is because I am a former event professional over 28 years, and I really enjoy this industry. I enjoy planning events, and I know all too much about how burnout can impact an event professional, and sometimes to the point of leaving a career or leaving a really great position that they love. Burnout is definitely an epidemic right now, especially in our industry, and it's really important to be able to speak to it and to have a space in which event professionals are able to really unpack some of the things that they are actually going through so that they can rebuild their lives in a way that is giving them clairvoyance, confidence, in helping them to continue to move forward. So that's what I do. And I wanted to talk to you again today about this silent burnout threat that occurs in the virtual workplace. And what got me thinking about this is that there was a survey from last year from Zippa, and I'll link it below. But what it pretty much says is that 86% of fully remote workers, they experience some degree of burnout on their job, as opposed to 81% of those in hybrid work, and as opposed to only 70% of those working fully in person. So what does that mean? What does that really mean? It means that virtual workers have a high level of burnout than if you were working in person, and even if you're working hybrid. So that means that moving to remote work may not be a solution to burnout. It definitely can increase the risk factors for burnout. So we really need to be careful. Now, when you work from home, that can be completely the opposite of those that are looking for work-life balance if you don't have the right tools in place. So then the question is, what happens at home that makes us work much more? Well, naturally, when you're working at home, you have more time and you work even harder and more often than you would if you were in person. And when you're in person, you can account for things like your breaks. You go on lunch. Maybe there's a cafeteria at your place that you work at, and you sit and you have lunch with your buddies. You probably have that water cooler conversation that you're actually having with your colleagues when you go to the water or coffee station, right? Sometimes that can take 15 whole minutes. You also have social events. Many times people want to go out after work and have a glass of wine or something like that. And you have collaborative discussions. Let's say you have a meeting that you have, and after the meeting, there's just time for you to just continue to ideate with others that are, let's say, in a meeting room. Now, these often don't always happen the same way if we are virtual. And so I must say, as a person who's worked virtually over the last 10 years, it takes a lot of boundaries to ensure that you're not working all of the time. And then also to make sure that you're integrating some social activities and appropriate breaks throughout your day. When you're working and you're working a lot, you need to be able to separate. So when you're done, you need to be able to separate yourself from your work. Sometimes just looking at your office when you're working virtually can be a sign of the work that you have to do. So at times it can have its mental impacts. And that's also a little bit different because typically if you're working in person, you can leave that job. You can leave your cubicle, your office, and then you don't see it until the next day. So it takes a different mental impact. Now, if you're listening to this and you're just wondering, wow, it sounds like I may need some additional support, and you already know that you are consistently in burnout and overwhelm, and maybe you're even working remotely too, you may want to join me in my next Spanish Burnout Challenge. This is a challenge where we go through burnout, understand it better, why it happens, learn about the burnout cycle, which yes, the burnout cycle is actually a thing. And we'll learn about the challenges that make you really get into that consistent burnout and find key ways to manage it in your life. I just hope you would join me. If you're really interested, you can go to the link in the description or just go to plannersonpurpose.com/burnout. I have a next Spanish Burnout Challenge happening at the top of the year, just after the holidays. So you are just in time to get a good grip on the new year if you sign up now. So the question is also now, how can we manage? How do we manage our virtual workplace to help avoid our burnout? Well, I have a few tips, and these are tips that actually have worked for me and have helped me to be able to maintain my balance at home. First one, and I talk about this a lot, and it's have a designated office space to work in your home. Now, preferably have office space that you can have a door so that you can keep it shut when you're having certain meetings. And it also helps to maintain a sense of confidentiality if you have those kind of meetings. And then it also helps you to be able to really separate yourself from the other parts of the home. And when you leave, you can also close your door. So it's not like it's open and you can always peek in and see your desk, and getting on your computer can be tempting late at night. So you want to make sure that you really are putting in boundaries and have that designated office space where you have all your work located and have a door. Now, some people typically would use their kitchen table, or they would use their couch, and although it's great that that is a space, what ends up happening is it can tend to get cluttered because that's where you're always putting your laptop and your stack of stuff. It really is helpful if you have a designated space. Find a little nook, get those little cute little L tables or something to plop in a corner to have just a space for your work. It's super helpful. The second thing I believe will help you to manage your virtual workplace and avoid burnout is to set up boundaries throughout your day. For those of you that have followed me, you know that I am a really big proponent on making sure that you have boundaries about your day. You have your calendar all set to be able to help people understand how you work. And that you come in online. If you come in online in the morning and evening, make sure it's really important to make sure you limit yourself to simple tasks. For me, especially because I do have a family, it's really hard for me to tackle a big, huge project at 6 a.m. if I want to check in on work before I start getting kids going off and dressing, going to school. So typically I limit myself to emails, very simple tasks before I bring my full attention, right, to my work. Also, have pockets during your time at work for little things, right? The little things do matter. So little coffee chats, maybe to catch up with your team members. Now, I'm not asking for you to do coffee chats all the time. If you have 50% of your work schedule as coffee chats, then we might have to have a discussion about that. But it's just having a little touch base. Maybe a couple of days a week or one day a week, you catch up with some people that you generally love to talk to at work. I know sometimes a Gallup survey always has the question, do you have a best friend at work? It doesn't necessarily mean this person is your BFF or anything like that, but just people that you generally love to talk to. Do you set up time to just talk to them? How is their life going? What are they doing? How's work going? It's really important because if we were in an in-person environment, those are things that we would typically do. So set up a little half an hour on your appointment. It's not going to hurt you to do that, and just have coffee and catch up with your friend. It will definitely help you and bring in that social element into your virtual workspace too. And then also give yourself a buffer. This is another thing that you can do. Give yourself a buffer between work and home, right? So many people, when they're working in person, they get into a car after work, they listen to music. They probably have a nice scenery on the way back home, unless they're into some type of traffic situation. But maybe they're even on the train, like in Chicago. Some people go back and forth from work to home via the train. But there is this transition time that one has when they're going from work and then going home. And in that transition time, you can listen to music, you can read a book. They are able to reset themselves so that when they go into their home, they have a little bit more relaxation around them. When you're virtual, sometimes what can happen is you go straight from work and right into home life, and sometimes there's no buffer in between. Give yourself your buffer. Find a buffer. Now, some ideas are perhaps you can go on a walk. Once you're done with work, go on a walk and make it a habit. Do it every day so that you get used to it and it's integrated within your day. You could go to your bedroom. Perhaps you have a really nice bedroom. Maybe you want to take a brief nap before you just are preparing yourself for the evening activities. That's also something really nice. You can also go for a workout. Most people are able to either work out within their home, or perhaps they have a gym, which allows them to go out of the house, get some social connection, and do some working out. You can also go to a coffee shop. Go to a coffee shop, get an iced tea, get an afternoon delight, make it a treat for a job well done at work. Do something to be able to cause or to create a buffer in your life. Whatever it is, let it be helpful, let it be joyful, and let it help your transition from work to your home life. Hopefully, some of these tips were ones that you are able to incorporate within your busy day as you're working virtually. And I just hope that you do what you can do in order to really prevent that silent burnout threat in the virtual workplace. So here's to relieving yourself of burnout and staying on purpose. I'll see you in the next episode.
Well, that wraps it up for this episode. If you enjoyed the conversation, hit the like button and tell us how much you enjoyed the show by leaving a message in the comments. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.